Thank you, everyone. It's great to see a whole room of conquerors, world conquerors. That's what we're going to be at the end of this session. So thank you so much for your attendance and participation. And there'll be some gifts for audience participation, so encouraged. You will see a couple of handouts that I put on your, thank you, Shika, for putting them out. So I'll talk to them shortly, but we will be hands-on. We will be doing a couple of exercises. So, and please stop me if you have any questions, but hopefully I'll be able to answer them through the presentation. All right. So we talked a little bit about branding earlier in the first session. Mike spoke in a high level in terms of strategy. So what does it mean to be world domination? You know, when I say develop your brand and conquer the world, that's a bold statement, right? What does that really mean? So to me, it means knowledge is power, and the power of you is the most powerful thing you can have. So who in this room has a personal brand already? A couple, very good. Who wants to have one? And who has no clue how to start? Anybody? Well, hopefully I will provide you some tools, and also I'll give you an introduction to the model, that it's also now an online personal branding workshop that you can access online. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what does it need? What does it need to be a hero? What does it mean to be a personal branding hero? We could stop right here. This is what you need. You need to have a personal brand, which means a personal brand and a branding statement. You need a career roadmap. Mike also talked about that earlier. And also you need a practice pitch. And a practice pitch meaning that you have a pitch that you can manipulate to use whatever to whoever is the person or company you're trying to convey your message to. So a little bit about me. You heard my credentials, and for me, you can see on my LinkedIn, I don't have any of that. It's what Mike was saying also before. I'm a business analyst, I'm a project manager, I'm a PMO leader, I'm a personal branding coach, but I'm all of that. I'm not any one. So I brand myself as a growth professional. So, and when I say I'm a growth professional, that means what? I help people grow, right? I help people, I help organizations, I help teams grow. The how I do that is not important. The fact that I'm a project manager or I'm a personal branding coach, the how is not important. It's the value I bring that's important. So we'll follow up with Mike, and Mike has said this exact same thing. We did not, and we in fact just met this morning. But we had a lot of synergy in our talk, so I think that would actually be a good deal for us to get together. So you're more than your title, because title is just a snapshot, a blip of what you're doing right now. And if you want to tie into your LinkedIn lists all your titles and your job roles. I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in knowing who you consider yourself overall. Like, what's your umbrella? Like, so I'm your project manager, I'm a business analyst, I help people grow, I help do efficiencies. So I'm a growth professional. So, and Mike also touched on, you're not your title. So you're not your title. It's who you aspire to be and what you aspire to be. So, and I have lots of animation and colorful animation in this, so superhero theme. So again, helping individuals, teams, organizations through optimization and transformation. That's my brand statement. That's the value I bring. And I could have taken that further, and I could have said, well, I help individuals grow and find their personal brand, and I also help organizations with increased efficiencies and employee engagement. I could also say that too, but that's more around the next conversation that I have, but I really want to grab their attention as to what I'm offering. All right, so again, the project management, your title right now is how you do it. It's not the value. So everyone in this room, how many are project managers? So how do you differentiate yourself from the project manager next to you? So if I'm looking on LinkedIn and I see a project manager, senior project manager.
Well, I mean, one way is credentials, but I think the most effective way is how you actually perform.
Yes, yes. It also could be industry specific. You could be a healthcare project manager. But also, why would you just limit yourself to project manager? Do you not want to be a program manager? Do you not maybe want to be a leader in the future? Why limit yourself to saying, this is what I am today? Sorry? This is what I am today. And instead of, like you were saying, Mike, think, what are you in the future? Like, what do you do, and what will you continue to do, and how will that evolve? So I think you need to think more strategic, and what will you be doing, and grow into that. That make sense? All right, so can someone just give me what their definition of personal branding is? Anybody?
I can talk about it. So to me, personal branding is who I am, what I do, and how I do it. There's the value of that. If I can frame my conversation into those 4 answers, I can define my brand.
Right, great. So the benefit of having a personal brand is first knowing who you are, like knowing your story, right? Knowing who you are and what your skill set is, where you want to go. Because if you don't know it and you can't articulate it to anybody else, how are you going to achieve it? That is the question. So knowing your brand will help you say, hey, to a recruiter or to your boss, to a hiring manager, to investors, this is what I do, this is the value I bring, and they can understand it and take and run with that. A recruiter can go and make sure they match you to a more specific job role that you're looking for. So if you don't convey that, they're not going to get you the right role. Does that make sense? And also investors are your manager. If they don't know what you want to do, how will they help you get there? So developing your personal brand based on your story, based on your skill set, based on your strengths, based on what you want to do, how you want to get there, what type of investment you're going to put in is all real key to developing your brand. So knowledge is power. That's your superpower, knowing you. What's more important than actually knowing you and knowing yourself? Know thyself, as Mike said. The power of you, that's the most important thing that you can do. And that's why I say that if you know your superpower, you're going to conquer the world, because your world, you're going to achieve what you want to do, what you set out to do. So let's talk about the how. We're going to get into the how now. How do we achieve this? How do we achieve muscle? Does it just happen? Exercise. So why don't we exercise our brand? So what I propose is that you should have I do it every day mindset, and going out, not when you need a new job, not when you want to go and make a change. You should be doing it today and every day. You should, and if you want to become an expert in your field and you want to be known as such, you need to get yourself out there. You need to go on LinkedIn and post things. You need to go and comment on things. You need to share things, do blogs, do a vlog, whatever you're comfortable doing, but you should do it every day. And I don't mean spend hours on it. I mean, allocate 30 minutes a day, or maybe 15 in the morning, 15 in the afternoon. But just put yourself out there and let yourself be known, because people are looking. People on LinkedIn are looking. And they'll, I'm looking for this kind of person, or, oh, that's interesting, let me go and reach out to her. So it's really important to put yourself out there. All right, so again, know your core. So when I say know your core, is knowing your story, knowing your strengths, and knowing where you want to be and what you want to do. Very important. And we're going to get again, and for next we're going to get into the how. So my question is, will you be ready? Will you be ready when this opportunity arises? Will you be ready when you have the ear of a CEO? Will you be ready? You have the ear of an investor, will you be ready? All right. So I want to get into strengths. So in part of developing your personal brand is also in tangent having a career roadmap and making sure you stay true to your brand. So my True Possibilities model, actually, the second part of it is trunk, but you can see on the handout it's a tree, and so the roots are your story, who you are, in the trunk are your strengths. So knowing your top 5 strengths, that you can see up here, is 60% of who you are. 60% of who you are. It's your natural ability. Why would you waste any time working on anything below that? So, but the key is understanding your strengths and what your weaknesses are as well, and how you can take your strengths to compensate for the weaknesses you don't have. So don't want you working on your lower half, you want to work on the top 5 strengths, because that's where the value is. All right, so let's go ahead and do the first exercise. If you take out the card that has the PMI, there, the second, could someone hold that up? Yep. Yep, the one that says Partners in Progress. Yep, so turn over and we'll do the first one. Let's talk about goals. So I want you to take 2 to 3 minutes to just write down 2 high-level goals that you have over the next year. And that's not specific, not like, oh, I want to be X, get into X role by, just what is the very high-level thing you want to achieve. And then prioritize those 2 goals, or 3 goals, whatever you have time to do. All right, so 3 minutes. All right, another minute and a half, and I'll look for a volunteer or 2 to share their goals. All right, everybody ready? All right, do I have a volunteer? Anyone want to share at least one goal?
Improve communication effectiveness.
Okay, great. And in your current role?
Yeah. And just in general.
Okay, great.
In this conversation right now.
Great. All right, catch. All right, anyone else want to share? Yes.
Mine's not work related really at all. It's improve my agility and flexibility, be able to go at any moment, not be tied by a house or by belongings or
Right.
someone else.
Right, exactly. And then you can look for a career that would enable you to do that. Right, a role. Ready? Oh, it's a little short. Sorry. All right. So I cannot stress enough about the importance of developing a career roadmap and sticking to it. And luckily, in here, most of us are project managers, right? Or I think might have some scrum masters, might have some leaders, but everyone's really in the project management space. mean, this is what we do all day, right? So we plan this for other people. We need to be able to plan for ourselves. So make sure when you have your goals, you're setting, you're tracking, and you're monitoring them, and the risk management involved of doing them and not doing them. So again, the question is, will you be ready? The first part is setting your goal. The second part is really diving into deeper detail and what will you do? Never fear, the project manager is here. So luckily, you possess 2 superpowers already, the superpower of time management and the superpower of risk management. So luckily, all you in this room are able to do this already as second nature. So again, why not do it for yourself? And make sure you set goals, set SMART goals, and track them. And what will you do if you are going off track? Make sure you're putting in a mitigation strategy as well. All right, so let's do the second. Let's do the next one on the back of the card. And this one, think about where you want to be. Think about where you want to be. So on that roadmap and what your ultimate goal is, like you want to be flexible, you want to be dynamic, what type of role will give you that? So think of what your next career goal will be, your next role, your next, even if you want to stay in your same role, what do you want to do? Is it another industry? Is it another department? Is it another service line? You know, just what do you want it to be? And so I'll give you 3 minutes on that as well. So when you're considering this, so think of the role you want to be in and then consider what skills you have, what skills you might be missing, what gaps you might have. So you're a project manager and you want to be a manager. So you have what experience, what skill set, what training that applies to it, and then what doesn't. This one's a little harder, and usually, you know, it will take a lot longer than just 3 minutes to figure all this out. So I know it's kind of difficult without, you know, giving it a whole lot of consideration. But I want to give you the tools to be able to utilize and take away from after today that you can utilize, and you can use this to develop your brand and your career roadmap. Not expected to have it, you know, a full deliverable at the end of the day. So. Oh, well then we can talk. Let's talk about it. All right, is everybody good? All right, so let's talk about that. So why was that easier for you?
It was kind of like, because when you said like, especially like where I want to go, because I just got to where I am.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, well, I still just got there, I'm getting acclimated, so I would like to stay in that role so I can learn about more like other roles that are complementary.
Yes.
Or other roles where I can use like, because I do have a lot of transferable skills, and see where I can best apply those.
Okay, very good.
I kind of doubled it with my other answer, because one of my goals was to get to know people and have them know about what I can bring to the table.
Yes, exactly. And it's not double dipping, it's actually you're piggybacking off of that. I mean, right? That's your goal, and then that's how you're going to get to it, right? That's the next kind of rung up the ladder. And your goal might be like 2 more roles down the road, and that's okay. And one thing I didn't mention, one of the reasons why I created, really got into the personal branding and created the personal branding workshop model is really, I want to say I was sleepwalking through my career. For lack of a better term. But I mean, I was promoted in every company I've been at, so that wasn't an issue. But I was just like, really, I was being reactive. I was just like, yeah, that happened. That was great. I did a good job. I got recognized for it. But I wasn't in control of it. So, and as I get older, it's like every decision I make is important. You know, it seems more important now, but I wish, retrospectively, I wish that I would have started out that way when I was in my 30s. You know, 20s, you know, you want to be experimental. You need to figure out what you do, what you can do. But then by your 30s, you know, like, really, what do I want to do? So having a 3-6 month goal is really important. And that's what I do now, even with my own company, that I do that within my own company. But also, I think for you, knowing where you want to go, and even if you want to be in a project manager, but there's also program management. That's not, you know, it's not a stretch from what you're capable of doing. So really think about where you eventually want to be, and then think, how do I get there? How many rungs do I have to get? And what is my time frame to do that? Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share? Oh, yes.
This is, I guess, more of a question versus sharing. So,
Sure.
in a large organization, a lot of times you feel as though you lose the ability to control the destination because of organizational changes and you know, what have you. You know, oh, you're needed here, and so you become more reactionary versus
Yes.
reaction. So how does, I guess, having your proof, I mean, it's kind of like you put the statement out there, but in the organization I'm in, it's, oh, that's nice. We need you over here.
Right,
You know?
right. Well, that's a really good question. And I mean, does your leader know what you want to do? And is that in line with where you want to go in your career? So I think I would have that conversation with your leader, make sure they are giving you opportunities that meet your brand and your career roadmap.
And if you continue to reinforce that and it's still kind of not heard on
Yes, then decisions need to be made there. So are you gaining, like, you're looking at your career roadmap, you're looking at your brand, is it really speaking to you? Is this what you want to be doing? It's a hard question to ask, and if you enjoy the company, the organization that you're working in, and that's a difficult question to ask yourself. But I think it's a valid one, and you need to really dig deep to see, I want to be a team player and just do whatever the organization wants me to do, or do I need to think about myself and say, this is what I need to do? Does that help?
or as part of your branding to kind of touch the paradigm of the organization.
Yes. All right. It's gonna be a long throw. Ready? All right. So I just remember this is important. So this is a thumbprint, right, with people made of people, which I think is a pretty cool graphic. So there is no 2 people in this room that have the same experience. One of my pet peeves is when people say, "Oh, it's just common sense." I disagree. I'm sorry, props to Thomas Paine, but there's who invented that. Right? He wrote that. Common sense. The reason why there's no, to me, common sense doesn't exist because we all have a different story. We all come from different cultures. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different skill sets, training, you name it. No one is the same. So what do you bring that I don't bring? What do you bring that the person next to you doesn't bring? You need to show that value And yes, everyone's project manager, program manager, project management professional, but really what value do you bring? And maybe it's industry specific, maybe it's based on your knowledge or skill set that you have a skill set that no one else has. But how do people know that if you just put, I'm a project manager? I don't know that. All right. So just kind of recap. Make sure you know yourself, know thyself, as Mike said earlier. Know your value, work to your strengths, understand what you want, and then develop a plan and stick to it. And you can change the plan, but you want to, and if your goal is, if you decide it's not the goal that you really thought, you can certainly, it's dynamic, you can change it. That's why you need to monitor it. Like, is it still what I want to do? So it's really important to keep that into perspective. So let's do our last exercise, which is knowing your branding superpower. So here's a couple of examples: a healthcare agilist, energy technologist, a PMO strategist. I mentioned growth professional, and Mike, you are human capital something? You had, human capital specialist, I think you had. Expert, yes. So consider your goals that you had written down. Consider your future state, what role you want to be in. And then consider, what does that really say? What does that really say about you? What does that say about, are you are you really want to be a healthcare project manager? Or you want, what other specialty do you have? What value do you bring that no one else does that's special? So consider that. So come up with a brand. And of course, it's a working title. Like I said, you're not going to leave this with, this is a draft, as Mike said in his earlier. This is a draft, and we'd like you to continue to work on that. But this is something that is important to knowing who you are. So I'll give you a couple minutes for that. All right, I'll be looking for a couple volunteers. Come on, who can? Cindy, you seem to be pretty quick over there with yours. Would you mind sharing?
Sure. I guess my brand would be a connoisseur of experience and really just bringing my unique experience and relating to other people as an educator, as a facilitator of communication, and just sort of understanding my client and being able to really empathize and relate with them.
Mm-hmm. Nice, very good. Anyone else want to share? Shika? Shika, you have one, don't you?
Call myself the uniter. I create and build relationships to bring solutions and people together to solve complex business problems.
Nice.
No, I cannot catch.
All right, everyone. We'll hope this video will work. So now I want to introduce to you the Tree of Possibilities model, which you have a picture of it on your tables. And so this is the model, and I showed you an abbreviated model. We started at the third level, which is the fourth level actually, which was the goals and future state. But this really breaks down like how to get to your story. So you can see the roots and how they kind of, bubble underneath as they would a tree. And so the workshop actually breaks it down into each of those individual, it decomposes, if you will, or unpacks to help you develop your story, because developing your story is one of the hardest things. But once you know it, that is the key. So my workshop, I do in-person workshops, and now I've just released an online personal branding workshop, which is the same thing as what you would get. And the cards are, thank you, and the cards are on the table. And I have an introductory price. It's the value is $375, but for everyone else it's $179, but for you guys today it's $149. So it's available, and there's a QR code on the back there. That'll take you right to it. But let's see if we can get the video working. Just press that. And hope sound works. I think we might have to click it there. Nope. No, that's the video. Yep. Yep. We get volume. Okay, make it louder or no? Can anybody hear it? It's on the website too.
Finding and staying true to your brand and career development will help
I think we might be running out of time a little bit, but I just want to show you, it's really funny when you hear words coming out of someone else. You know, I wrote this and developed it, and it's really funny hearing your words come out of somebody else. So you can see the workshop is quite comprehensive. It is 7 micro-learning videos, but it is called a workshop because you do the work. It takes pretty much 3 to 4 hours to complete it. You could really dig deep into, you know, who you are, what you are, your skills. It also includes a Strength Finders assessment as well. So it's got a top 5 Strength Finders assessment license. It has 2 30-minute coaching sessions with me, virtual, and then a 15-minute follow-up at the end. And then it also has you know, it has the tools, and I use Scrumbler board and some other tools within the course. And the course is all like you saw. It's all animated, so it's not a talking head. I saw a lot of smiles and laughing, and yes, I wanted that effect, right? Because it could be a daunting task to really dig that deep and to really get where you need to. It's very guttural, and so I think that, you know, you need to like have someone guide you. There's so many models out there, but I couldn't find one that was easy to do, and I felt like I needed to create something that could kind of motivate people and be interesting at the same time, and in the end help you get to your brand. All of this informs your brand, your roadmap, and your pitch. So I will say, become pitch perfect. Practice your pitch often on as many people as you can. Many different types of people, and once you get that pitch, you'll be able to pick and choose the parts that work for your audience. So everything, personal branding, this is how you achieve superhero status for your brand and go out and conquer the world. Thank you.